Welcome to Vietnam Connection, where you can find the latest updates and in-depth analysis on Vietnam's economic, political, social, and cultural developments. In this episode, we're diving deep into Vietnam's boldest infrastructure project yet, a 1,541-kilometer high-speed railway connecting Hanoi in the north to Ho Chi Minh City in the south. What makes this truly historic? Vietnam wants to build it, largely with its own money, its own engineers, with technology licensed from foreign companies. No more full dependency on foreign countries. Ambitious? Absolutely. But also transformative. Let's be honest. Does Vietnam have what it takes to pull off one of the most complex rail projects in the world? The government thinks so. And they're not just talking, they're moving. The North-South High-Speed Rail is officially on the books. Project overview. Estimated total cost, a whopping $67 billion. Length, 1,541 kilometers. Speed, 350 kilometers per hour. Stations, 23 passenger stations and 5 freight train stations. Construction breakdown. 60% elevated, 10% tunnels, 30% ground level. Travel time. Cut from 30 hours by current train system to just 5.5 hours. Timeline. Begin in 2026. Complete by 2035. Why now? And why does Vietnam want to reinvent the wheels when other neighbor countries already have similar projects? Let's take a quick Southeast Asia tour. Indonesia's Jakarta-Bandung Rail, started in 2016, opened 2023. 4 years late. Length, 142.3 kilometers, 88 miles. Cost, $7.3 billion. Speed, up to 350 kilometers per hour, 217 miles per hour. The project was 75% funded by Chinese state-owned firms and built by a joint Indonesian-Chinese consortium. Most equipment and expertise were imported. Thailand's Bangkok-Nong Khai line. Length, the full route is 609 kilometers. Cost, $14 billion US dollars. Speed, 250 kilometers per hour. The plan was approved by the Thai parliament in 2010. Construction began in 2017, but has faced multiple years of delays due to land acquisition, design changes, and funding issues. Under the framework, a joint venture would be set up to run the project. China would conduct feasibility studies, design the system, construct tunnels and bridges, and lay track. Once built, China will operate and maintain the system for the first 3 years of operation. Between the third and the 7th years, both countries would share responsibility. Laos-China Railway. It was 70% funded by China, built almost entirely by Chinese companies, with very little economic benefits gained by domestic Laotian companies. Length, 422 kilometers. Cost, almost $6 billion. Speed, 160 kilometers per hour. It opened on time in 2021, but it cost Laos government over 1/3 of its GDP, and now they are in a debt trap, having to restructure this massive debt. The lesson? Foreign-led projects tend to overrun timelines, cost a fortune, and limit benefits to the local economy. So how is Vietnam doing it differently? The answer? Self-reliance. Self-financing. Vietnam wants 70% financing from domestic resources. Foreign loans will be capped at 30%, and only if they have low interest rates. Vietnamese companies would lead the construction process, while licensing foreign companies for technologies. Why is this so important? Because for years, Vietnam's ODA-funded metro projects in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City were plagued by delays and ballooning budgets. By having domestic companies leading the construction process, thousands of jobs will be generated domestically. The overall cost and project timeline will be reduced. In the end, it will create an entire new industry, a new growth engine for Vietnam's future. This is Project Years, in the making. Vietnam first proposed a north-south rail in 2010, with an estimated $56 billion price tag. This was half of Vietnam's GDP at the time. Therefore, the National Assembly resolutely rejected such a high debt burden. Fast forward to 2024. Vietnam's GDP has quadrupled to $476 billion. This project isn't a fantasy anymore. It becomes a necessity. If Vietnam wants to pull ahead in the economic race among other Southeast Asian neighbors, it must own high-speed rail technology and build this project itself. In 2025, Vietnam is projected to be the 32nd largest economy globally in terms of nominal GDP. Within the next 5 years, it is projected to overtake Thailand and Singapore to become the second largest economy of Southeast Asia. So, this high-speed rail project is not just a transportation project. It is an opportunity for Vietnam to accelerate and transform its economy in order to reach high-income status by 2045. In 2024, the National Assembly debated on 3 proposals. Option 1. Dual-purpose railway, passenger and freight. Design speed, 160 kilometers per hour. Estimated cost, $26 billion. Purpose, designed to accommodate both passenger and freight services. This option is cheap, but too slow for high-speed rail standard. Option 2. Medium-speed passenger-focused railway. Design speed, 200 kilometers per hour. Estimated cost, $34 billion. Purpose, primarily for passenger transport, with limited freight capabilities. This option would not be competitive with air travel and difficult to upgrade to higher speed in the future. Vietnam chose option 3. Fast, ambitious and future-ready. Design speed, 350 kilometers per hour. Estimated cost, $67 billion. Purpose, exclusively for passenger transport, while freight transport would continue to use existing rail lines or separate future lines. Phases in progress. Phase 1, 2025 to 2027. Finalize designs and feasibility. Phase 2, 2027 to 2035. Start building 2 separate sections. Hanoi to Vinh section in the north. Ho Chi Minh City to Nha Trang in the south. Phase 3. Connect the middle section from Vinh to Nha Trang. This central region is least populated and has the most challenging terrain. So, how is Vietnam going to fund this project? The government has previously planned to utilize most of the fundings from state budget allocations, government bonds, domestic loans, and public-private partnerships. However, in May 2025, 2 private companies, Vinspeed from the parent conglomerate Vingroup and Thaco, proposed 2 alternative investment models. Here's how they stack up. On May 14, 2025, Vingroup, which is Vietnam's largest conglomerate with diversified business in real estate, retail, healthcare, education, hotels and hospitality, consumer goods, AI, electric car and battery production, officially announced the formation of Vinspeed High-Speed Rail Investment and Development JSC, along with its proposal to become the sole investor in the transnational high-speed railway project. Vinspeed plans to have 20% of the capital, or $12.27 billion funded by Vinspeed's own resources. It plans to borrow the remaining 80% from the government as a zero-interest loan, with a 35-year repayment period. It promises construction done by 2030, 5 years earlier. It suggests 99-year operation period via build, operate, transfer model. It will develop urban hubs and commercial centers around stations using the TOD, Transit-Oriented Development Model. This approach aims to boost local infrastructure, tourism, and economic activity, thereby generating additional revenue streams. It wants the minimum train ticket prices to be set at 60 to 75% of airfare. On May 27, 2025, another domestic private enterprise, Thaco, also enters the chat room by submitting to the government a competing proposal to build the entire project. Thaco is officially known as Trong Hai Auto Corporation. Originally known for its automotive manufacturing, Thaco has diversified its operations in recent years and now spans multiple industries such as industrial production, logistics, real estate development, agriculture production, and infrastructure development. Thaco's proposal plans to have 20% of funding from Thaco's equity and domestic sources. 80% of funding is through domestic and international loans, with a request for government guarantees for the loans, but does not ask for zero interest. It proposes 7 years of construction and 70-year operating period before transferring back to the state. It also plans transit-oriented development, TOD model, for urban development around the stations. It promises greater openness to public-private partnerships and other local firms. THACO will establish a dedicated company for the project, similar to Vingroup's decision to create VinSpeed, in order to maintain a controlling stake while inviting domestic investors to participate. The proposal explicitly states that no shares or operational rights will be transferred to foreign investors, ensuring national security and technological sovereignty. The main advantages of allowing a private corporation to take over a national project is that it will speed up efficiency and reduce the state government's financial burden. However, it can also mean higher ticket prices for consumers. In both of these proposals, they want the government to be responsible for land clearance. Challenges ahead. Can Vietnam stay on schedule? Or will land clearance delays drag the project, just like they did with the metro projects? The government is currently reviewing both proposals. Additionally, the government has set a firm deadline for the groundbreaking of the North-South High-Speed Railway project by the end of 2026. Beyond overcoming the financial hurdles and land clearance challenge, Vietnam also faces significant technology challenges. Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh emphasized the importance of mastering technology, producing rolling stock, and creating an integrated railway ecosystem to drive national growth and innovation. Additionally, Prime Minister of Transport, Nguyen Van Thang, has led discussions with international partners such as China, Japan, Korea, France, and Spain to secure technology transfer agreements, but no final decision has been made. Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh also has actively engaged with executives from major domestic companies to encourage their participation in the project. Here is a list of some of those companies. Orfad Group is Vietnam's leading steel manufacturer. On May 29, 2025, Orfad Group signed an agreement with Germany's SMS Group to install a rail and structural steel production line. With an annual capacity of 700,000 tons, it is expected to be completed within 20 months, with the first high-speed rail products slated for delivery in early 2027. This will make Orfad the first company in Southeast Asia capable of producing steel rails for high speed. FPT Corporation is Vietnam's largest IT company. Prime Minister Chinh has called on FPT to train high-quality human resources and designing semiconductors to support the high-speed railway project. FPT aims to develop and implement advanced digital solutions for the railway's operations, including ticketing systems, scheduling, and real-time monitoring. Viettel Group is a state-owned telecommunication enterprise. The company is focusing on creating sophisticated control systems and advanced signaling systems that meet international standards, ensuring seamless communication across the railway network. For this purpose, Viettel has signed a strategic partnership with South Korea's KT Corporation to develop AI solutions tailored to Vietnam's conditions. THACO has established mechanical industrial zones in provinces like Binh Duong and Bac Ninh, designed to support the production of locomotives, carriages, and high-speed rail components. THACO has initiated technology transfer discussions with European and Asian partners to build domestic capacity in high-speed rail manufacturing and maintenance. DAOCA Group is a prominent Vietnamese infrastructure developer. It has a proven track record in large-scale transportation projects, including expressways, tunnels, and bridges. This experience positions the company to undertake complex civil engineering tasks within the high-speed rail project. In summary, this project of the century will massively transform Vietnam. Building it by itself will allow Vietnam to unite the country from north to south, increase mobility of people and businesses much more efficiently, create new growth hubs throughout the country, lower logistics costs and carbon emissions, generate an entire new domestic industry in rail tech and manufacturing, enabling the country to continue its rapid economic expansion. Vietnam has taken deliberate, necessary preparatory steps so far. Now, its leaders must execute the plan smartly to make this dream a reality. The government has locked in end of 2026 as the groundbreaking deadline. The clock is ticking. Your turn. Now that you know the stakes, the players, and the vision, what do you think? Should Vietnam go with a private model or stick with state-led development? Which partner, Japan, Korea, or China, should Vietnam choose for technology? Can this project become a model for the Global South? Let us know. If you found this episode valuable, like, subscribe, and share.